DC here. Hi guys and gals. Yes, it's a lunch break. Back to work. It's on Tuesday now. Yeah, getting back to work was, well, as usual, kind of intense. A lot of things happened over the 3 weeks that I was absent, and yeah, a lot of things had to be taken care of. But pretty well got through the mails and different tasks, almost. Not quite all of them, but some of them. And organizing some Skype meetings later on this week for projects that I have abroad and, things like that. So overall, it was pretty good. And I mean, by arriving here on Friday in Switzerland and having the weekend, the jet lag is by. So, it's okay. I was reading an article and it was on language and morality. Yeah, it was kind of interesting because it was going on about a study that was made a few years back showing if people were working in a language that wasn't their mother tongue, not bilinguals, but people that had learned a language, let's say in their teens or something like that, and were forced to work with it and put between moral and ethical situations, and compared to control groups where we were talking about native speaking, so native tongue, and which would be what would be the outcome of the moral issue. Now, it was quite interesting to see that people with using their, I was going to say, acquired language usually took the so-called less ethical solution or way out of something. There's many ways to look at that. I mean, one could be is that a lot of the brain power was being used to process the language. The other one is that usually when you're working with your native language, your emotions kick in, which isn't quite as much as they say with the acquired language. That's interesting because one always says that you've really acquired a language when you start dreaming in that language. And I was wondering about that, that would have been, a third question to ask these people to kind of find out which was the fact. It also, there's a lot of kids, by the way, in the woods because they're learning map reading today. Yeah. So anyway, so back onto that question is that I was wondering, because I worked for many years in a big multinational international company where English was the official language, but a large part of the people that were there were not of English mother tongue. They would have exactly fit into the category that I've just mentioned, which brings on an interesting story. I mean, would these people actually, if you had ethical and moral decisions, would they have been less ethical? And that is something that is kind of interesting because I would almost tend to say yes. Very often when a decision was taken that we would say, well, that's not quite on, the answer would be, well, we've become an American company. We got to act this way. Well, I don't know if that's exactly the right answer, or if the right answer is we're acting along a line which I just discussed, I mean, that we are taking decisions that are, maybe not, they're utilitarian based, but not always emotional based. Anyway, a lot of kids walking along here right now, which is a bit of a pain because, people are looking at you and wondering. I mean, I don't care about people looking at me. It's just that they're rather a boisterous group up to now, the ones that I have seen. Yeah, so anyway. That is an interesting topic. So I mean, languages. I mean, it also makes for discussions like what goes on, for example, in United Nations debates. I mean, I go through translators, I suppose, things like that. But if debates are done in a language that aren't yours, will you be taking the wrong decisions and so on? Anyway, something that's not a usual topic, but how does your language touch on your morals and your ethics? an interesting one. Anyway, that'll be all for now. DC signing off. Take care, everybody, and hope you have a good Tuesday. Bye-bye.